Today I'll be showing you guys how to do tile collisions in GameMaker Studio 2. Before I get started, I just want to say that this tutorial is inspired by Heartbeast. He has great GameMaker Studio tutorials, and when I first got started I used them all the time. I still use them now. So let's get started here. I just want to show you guys all I've done so far. I just have a player object which I can control with my arrow keys. Now what we'll essentially be doing is recreating the place meeting and position meeting functions to work with tiles. Now let's create a script here. So I'm sure you guys have seen in other tutorials the collision code would be something like place meeting x plus 1 y object floor, something like that. So we'll just be recreating that, but to work with tiles. So let's rename our function to tile place meeting. Now we're gonna get our arguments here. So we're gonna do var xx equals argument 0. It's gonna be the x position we're checking. Var yy equals argument 1. Don't know why it lagged there. Argument 1. It's going to be the y position we're checking. Then we're going to do var layer ID. Now this is going to be the layer we're checking collisions with. So if we open up our room here, you can see we have a background layer and an instances layer. In a second we'll be creating a collision layer that we'll be checking with. So in order to grab the layer, we need to do layer underscore tile map get ID. So now we have to get the actual ID of the layer, which we can do by using the function layer get ID, and then we're going to do argument 2. So essentially the way this script will work is in our player code or wherever we're going to be doing tile place meeting x plus 1 y and then collision, where collision is the layer in our room which we want to be checking collisions with. So now that we've done that, now we're going to save our current position of our object. So let's do save current position and do var xp, which is our previous x position. We're going to save there. Yp, which is our previous y position. Then we're going to update our position. So x equals xx. So now we're moving our object to the location where we want to check collision with. We're going to do the same thing with the y. And then we're going to actually check for collision. We're going to have that in var meeting. So now the way we're going to be checking, actually calculating the collision with the tiles, we're going to be using the function tile map get at pixel. So now we're going to be checking the actual pixels for the layer that we saved up here. So as you can see, the first argument is tile map element ID. So we're just going to do layer ID, which we grabbed up here. And then we have to check the positions. Now, in order to check these positions, I'm going to explain to you guys the bounding boxes, which is a built-in thing to GameMaker Studio 2. So if I open up my sprites here, and I go to the sprite I'm using for my player object, and right here on the bottom left it says collision mask. You can see here it has a box, and this is basically what GameMaker will be using to calculate collisions for my player object. So GameMaker has these built-in keywords. So this would be the X position. As the first argument, we would be using bbox left. Now this means bounding box left. So that would be this entire section of the collision mask right here. So I drew very professional MS Paint. So if this is our collision mask, the entire left side is bbox left. Now bbox left only returns the X position. There's no Y position. And then bbox right is the exact same thing. On the right side, bbox top, bbox bottom. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Bottom and top only return Y positions, and left and right only return X positions. So we're going to tile map get at pixel the layer, which is our collision layer, bbox left, and then for the Y coordinate we're going to do bbox top. So then we're going to do OR, which is 2 pipes. That's the key for most keyboards located above the enter key. We're gonna go on a new line and tab, so that way it's nice and neat. And tile map get at pixel layer ID. Now we did bbox left last time, so we're gonna do bbox right, bbox top. So now with these 2 lines of code, we're checking. With these 2 lines of code, we're checking if this top left corner is colliding with a pixel on this layer, which is our collision layer. So bbox left is the X position, bbox top is the Y position. So that'll be this top left corner here. And then on the next line, we're doing bbox right and bbox top, which is going to be this top right coordinate. And then we're going to do OR, remember double pipes, tile map get at pixel, then our layer. And then this time we're going to check, since this time we did top left and top right, we're going to do middle left and middle right. So we're going to do bbox left, Y. So again, that's checking middle left, which is right here. Enter. Tile map get at pixel layer ID. This time we're going to do middle right. So far with these 4 lines of code, we're checking top left, top right, middle left, and middle right. Now let's do bottom left and bottom right. So let me just copy and paste this so I don't have to keep typing it. So for this one, we're going to do bbox left, and then instead of bbox top, we're going to do bbox bottom, or control paste, bbox right, bbox bottom, and then OR. So with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these 6 lines of code, we're checking top left, top right, middle right, bottom left, bottom right. Now we're going to do one more check. So we're going to do the tile get at pixel, then we're going to do X and Y. And that's going to be the end of our meeting variable. So this one will check the exact center of our collision box. So now we have top left, top right, middle left, middle right, the center of the sprite, and bottom left and bottom right for our collision checking with our tile place meeting script. So now once we have this is going to be saved as a boolean, since each of these either returns true or false, or 0 or 1. So if any of these are true, meeting is going to equal true. If they're all false, meeting will equal false, which means it hasn't collided with anything on the layer. So now we're going to move back. We're going to move our object back to its original location. We're going to do x equals xp, y equals yp. And then we are going to return. So now we just do return meeting. So I'll go through the script one more time. Here we're just getting our arguments. We're getting the x position we want to check, the y position we want to check, and the layer in our room that we want to collide with. Then we're going to save the position of our object. We're going to move our object to the position we want to check for collision. It's going to be x, x, y, y. Then we're going to actually check for collisions by checking top left, top right, middle left, center, middle right, bottom right positions of our collision box with the layer. So if any of these coordinates are colliding with a pixel on this layer, it's going to make meeting return true. Then after we check for collisions, we're going to move our object back to its original position, and then we're going to return whether this is true or false. So now what we do is we're going to test if this script actually works. So let's open up our room and let's create a new tile layer, and let's rename it to collision. I already made a tile set. So now I'm going to just place tiles on the edges of the room. Put one there, put two here, just put some random ones. And there we go. So now we have all that on our collision layer. Let me close that. So now that we've done that, now we have to go into our actual object and write the collision code. So now all I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create a new event. I'm gonna create a draw GUI event, and I'm going to do draw text 1010 tile place meeting. Let's do X, Y, and then collision. So now all I'm doing here is I'm checking for collision with our tile layer collision that we've named collision, and anywhere within the bounding the collision mask. And if it is or isn't colliding, it's going to draw either 0 or 1 to our GUI layer. So if I run this, As you can see here on the top left, it has 0, which means false, which means we aren't colliding. But if I go here, as you can see, it turns into 1, which means our sprite is now colliding with the collision layer. So wherever I go, you can see it turns into 1 whenever I actually get my sprite within the pixels of the actual layer. So there we go, we have our place meeting script. So now let's do our position meeting. Now if you guys don't know the difference between place meeting and position meeting, let's do position meeting. If you middle click here, it's going to open up our documentation. So position meeting, it's almost exactly the same as the place meeting, except it only checks for a single coordinate. Whereas place meeting checks the entire collision mass, position meeting only checks the exact point in which you give it. So let's rename our script tile position meeting. Save that. Now it's going to be almost identical to our place meeting. So we're going to do var xx equals x, var yy equals y. And let's just copy and paste layer ID variable. Sorry, this has to be argument 0. This has to be argument 1. So let's just copy all of this. Just copy your place meeting code. Now, for position meeting, we don't have to move our object because we're not checking the bounding boxes at all for position meeting. So we can delete all this and this move back. So now we have to only check for our meeting. Now, since we're only checking a single point, we can get rid of all of these lines before right here. And instead of doing x and y, we're going to do xx, yy. So for this position meeting script, all we're doing is we're passing in x, our x position we want to check, our y position we want to check, and then the actual layer we want to check that we're colliding with. And then it's simply going to look at the position, the x position we gave it, the y position we gave it, and the layer, and return true or false if it's colliding with that layer at that exact coordinate. And then we'll just return whether it does or not. So let's save that. Let's open up our player object again. And then here, instead of doing place meeting, we'll do position meeting. And we're going to pass our x and y coordinates. So this means the exact center of the sprite. So I ran it here. As you can see, right up here, 0. If you go here, so you can see here, the bottom part of the sprite is inside the tile, but it's still returning 0. If I stick the entire sprite in there, it's at 1. And that's because it's checking the centermost coordinate, or wherever the origin is, which in this case the origin is at the center of the sprite. So let's just copy and paste this. And let's have this one place meeting, and then the bottom one position meeting. I'm going to put this at 24, so they're not on top of each other. So top one's place meeting, bottom one's position meeting. You go right there. So you can see the top of the sprite is within the tile map layer. So place meeting is returning 1, but position meeting is returning 0 because we're only checking for the center of the sprite. If I stick the entire sprite in there, they both return 1. And that's it, guys. That's all you need to know. So if you have any questions, please comment below. And remember, I do have a Patreon, and on Patreon you can download all the projects, and you also get to vote for the next tutorial I do and make suggestions for future tutorials. So thanks a lot, guys.